Hello, good to meet everyone. Thanks for your time today. So what I'm going to do quickly is just give you a quick introduction on Maltego. I'll be talking about the product, as well as I'll be running you through a quick demo on some of the use cases that you'll be able to see with this software. So first off, hopefully in the next 15 minutes, we'll be able to go through a couple of different demos. We'll be looking at something internet-based. We'll be looking at attack surfaces of websites and how you can protect yourself from vulnerabilities. I will also be taking a look at malware, looking at a specific person who's been infected by malware within the organization, as well as looking at their social media footprint. So let's talk about the first one. We're going to be looking at the Scientology website. As you can see right now, I'm not showing you much about the product. You'll be seeing more about the product when I switch my screens into a demo. This is something that we end up producing during this demo, as you can imagine, starting from one website and spinning out to multiple hundreds of others. So let's switch over to Maltego. Alrighty, so this is what Maltego looks like when you start it up. It's basically a, well, we call it a OSINT platform. I think it's more than just an OSINT platform. Maltego looks at many different kinds of threat intelligence, not just from corporate information, but web intelligence, crypto, scams, phishing, anything from malware, threat hunting, connecting to other data sources as well. So as you see, social links ran before us, and they're just down here. So we've got a connect to social links also on our platform, one of the premier social media applications that is used to go into various different social media networks and data. But apart from that, we have tons of other data sources as well. So I've been with the company for 2.5 years. We started with just 28 of these hubs. So what do I mean by hub? These little rectangular boxes are basically what will give you that additional data. You simply install it, you plug it in, and you're ready to roll. So what does it look like to actually run a demo? So to run an investigation with Maltego, it's pretty simple. You just need a starting point, and then you can click and go through different data sources and expand on your investigation, right? So I've got a couple different things here. These are all based on the next couple demos that I'm showing you. So I'm going to start with this guy down here, which is Scientology.org. So I'm just going to copy that over to a new graph. And as you can see, we have an entity. This specific item being called an entity is our starting point. So we've given the name Scientology.org. What I'm going to find right now is what other websites is this specific website connected to. Now, all of you must be knowing or well aware of things like web trackers and Google ID, UA analytics codes. We can actually discover them with Maltego as well. So I'm going to use something called the built with transform. And I will then find the relationships. So we'll be able to directly see on our screen what other relationships we can develop. Now, all of these relationships, as you can imagine, are connected to various other websites. We've got Google Tag Managers, Google Analytics codes, so that's UA codes, UID codes, Facebook pixels. Every single one of this might be related to another website. But how many other websites can we find? As you know, Scientology.org is a very large organization, a very wealthy organization, but they also subvert, or let's say, find ways to connect to people in a way that is not meant to be represented as Scientology.org. And we're going to find a couple of those websites today. So from these identifiers, I'm going to go to websites, and let's see what happens on my screen. So I'm just going to switch my view here so that you'll be able to see exactly how this graph keeps expanding. So right off the bat, while we started with just one of these websites, we now have approximately 83 more websites that we've discovered. So as you can imagine, looking back at these websites and discovering more of these identifying codes, we'll be able to find more relationships that are hidden away that we wouldn't have traditionally found. Now, when I say traditionally found, I mean using a web interface or maybe a command line terminal, which we would then use to manually sift through the website, looking at the code and looking at where those little bits of pixels or whatever referral codes may lay on this website, right? On these multiple websites. So the very interesting part here right now is we've discovered so many more of these relationship codes. What we can now do is go from these relationship codes and switch back to websites again. So now we're pivoting back. So a pivot forward is to go from one step to the next. So point 1 to point 2. When you go to point 2, you might find more information. What do we do to find more of that relational information? We actually take a step back based on point 2's results. So we call it pivoting backwards. So as you can see here, we're up to more than 100 websites. As you can imagine, 574 websites. Now, some of these websites are not something you would have imagined being connected to Maltego, right? So I'm just going to quickly stop that transform there. So we can see aola.org, we can see many different other Scientology websites. Every single one of these are carrying a common tracking code. So tracking these back and forward, you'll be able to figure out exactly what these are talking about. We also have things like touristpass.jp. Again, another strange one. Washington Dianetics, Willow Paul, right? And this is the one that spoke to me the most. This is called youthforhumanrights.org. Now, I'm not sure if you've thought about this or if you've just taken it at face value, but I don't think something called youthforhumanrights.org sounds like something directly connected to Scientology, but it is. So if you would go through this website and if you would go through more commercial exploration using some of the other tools that we have built in, for example, open corporates, you could use parts of SocialNet, you could use parts of Shadow Dragon's tools as well, and social links, for example, and you can look at the people connected here. You can look at what kind of other relevancies are available. You can even look at breach information. So imagine you use something like Scientology, you'll be able to then go into breach data and see exactly who's been using this website and being compromised on the open web as well. All right, so that brings me to a close on this particular demo. I'm going to quickly switch over to another very interesting one. This time we're going to look at attack surfaces and how vulnerable certain websites can be. Now, this goes more into the realm of cybersecurity. As you can imagine, we're going to be looking at a company's infrastructure. These are live websites that I'm touching here using Maltego. None of these instances are demos. So just be aware that any of this information can and will be released live. So I would just ask for your discretion here. So just like before, I've copied a starter artifact onto my graph, and from here I can then start exploring this website's infrastructure. But this is a top-level domain. What you saw me doing before is clicking through my workflow, right? So I would make one click, I would get a result, I would select another couple of targets, I would click again, I would get another result. The cool part about Maltego is you can actually automate all of your workflow. So anything in terms of point A to point XYZ, you can make sure that Maltego interprets that for you with a little bit of code, yes, but you'll be able to automate that so that you don't have to run the entire workflow by yourself. So you have a set method of how you would explore a specific artifact. So in this case, I'm going to use a machine. A machine is essentially a scripted list of transforms that run in a sequence. And I'm going to use the footprint to explore this top-level domain. So as you can see, I'm not intervening here. Everything's happening very autonomously. I just need to sit back, maybe take a sip of coffee or a nice espresso, and watch what happens on my graph. Okay, now we're done. Can you imagine doing all of this by hand in a command line terminal or looking at websites to get whois info and DNS information? It literally can take you hours, okay? Hours of work. And we've done this in literally a matter of seconds. So let's dig a little bit further. We're going to now look at exposing the vulnerabilities on this top level domain of this website at the IP level, at service level, and figuring out what kind of software is vulnerable. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I've selected the IP addresses that I think I want to be scanning through, and I'm then going to use Shodan. Right, so I can immediately go into vulnerability details with Shodan. We also provide census, which is very useful in these kind of applications. And as you can see, immediately we're able to see quite a few CVEs here. If we wanted further information, we simply need to click on it, and it's going to give us a result as to what kind of vulnerability that is. It's going to give us some documentation references as well.
Okay,
if I
thank
would want
you,
to use,
thank you, Taylor.
yes.
Good presentation.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Finish your presentation.
Yeah, we're finishing. Okay, I'll need a couple minutes more, please. So looking at this, we can imagine the breadth of data that you can actually use with Maltego. Not only have we discovered one point of this activity, we've also been able to go through many different parts of the infrastructure and then use this to further rectify and mitigate any other threats to the organization. And since my time is up, I'll be handing the mic over. Thank you very much.